I don't think it matters. Let's go live right now. It doesn't matter. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone from South Florida. Your girl kind of just got that. I had some amazing past couple of days, and I wanted to come in here and share it with you guys because I've been talking about it to almost everybody, and everybody's like, and so that's why I'm here. I'm here to share my experience as it relates to the Aspire Tour. If you guys have had the experience, if you haven't, you need to. So let this be your wake-up call. Your wake-up call to that experience. And I wanted to share that with you guys this morning. So, in case you guys do not know, there's an organization out there called Aspire. Let me turn this music down. Let me turn the music down. There's an organization out there called Aspire, and it's owned by two wonderful individuals, Andrew and Eddie Wilson. And I had I don't believe in such thing as luck. I'm gonna say I had the blessed opportunity. I saw this. I saw the ad on Facebook, and I decided to buy a ticket. And it was under $100, you guys, at the time, because I guess I got it early. Enough. And the experience was so nice, so yummy, so juicy. So many people. There was almost 4,000 people there at the Broward Center in Fort Lauderdale. 4,000 people. And I was one of them. If you ever have the opportunity to go to this their event, I would definitely say it's going to be one that you will not regret. You will not regret. I'm going to share their website. I'm going to put on their website here. So if you do ever get the opportunity that you use their website. This is the website right here. This is the website, you guys. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And these are some of the individuals that have been on their tour, right? And turning down my phone here, you guys. And you guys know I'm usually here on Wednesdays, but today, I was over there on Wednesday. That's why I couldn't be here with you guys on Wednesday. So I had to come in here and share with you guys my experience because it was just so amazing. It was just so amazing. So yeah, this is their website. So you guys get to see it. So it's aspiretour.com if you're interested. I know they're not paying me to do this. I am doing this because I just had such a great experience that I wanted to share it with you guys. I think they're gonna go. See, they were here in Fort Lauderdale. I think they're going next in Orlando, definitely here in Denver and some other places. But I wanted to talk about the individuals and the message from all of these amazing, inspirational speakers, amazing, inspirational, transformational speakers. Definitely not informational. It was just not only informational, but definitely transformational, at least for me, right? And I connected with some folks there, some lovely ladies and gentlemen. And it left me like I walked away with some good connections, right? Building relationships, which is what it's all about, because eventually your network is your net worth, right? That's what we learned. That's what we're learning. So, and I just wanted to share this with you guys, my experience. And I wanted to share this right here with what they wrote. They said, in a culture of people who adopt a new year, new me attitude, but lack the follow through or motivation to implement the change they want to see, the people who don't think they have the resources or inspiration to know where to begin their journey of growth. Sometimes all it takes is being fully immersed in an experience to find your footing. This is why we created Aspire. So if you know your potential, but you want to aspire to even more greatness, this is the event that will propel you through your next. I just added in that next there. The lineup of speakers at Aspire will move you toward exactly what you need to achieve in 2025. And if you're ready to take action toward your future, we invite you to grow with us and aspire for more, to more. So that's what I wanted to share that with you guys, to let you see that I went to this event and I was fully immersed into the experience. No, I did not do a live, and I did not do a live there because I wanted to be completely and totally actively present. And I did videos while I was there, and they, at one point in time, they were like, everybody take your phones out. And at that point in time, of course, and took some videos and I did some pictures and stuff. But I wanted to talk to you about the message from each one of these amazing individuals that were there, people that you know what they say. They say, you got to get in the room, you got to get in the room. There is something about being in the room. There's something about being in the room. And I'm all for Zooms and when it's time for Zoom and all that stuff, but my goodness, being in the space and breathing the same air as people like Cody Sanchez. Do you guys know who she is? Cody Sanchez? You don't know. You don't know. Alex Rodriguez? Do you know who he is? And these are all of the great hits. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, Renee Marino, Shaquille O'Neal, Mark Cuban, Tim Story, all of these amazing people that have been a part of speakers on Aspire. And there were 5, let me see how many individuals I got to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got to breathe the same air of these amazing people that are humans just like you and me. And what I wanted to point out first and foremost, even though they're like millions and millions and billions of dollars, that they have all of this, they were talking and interacting like they were regular people, and as they should, right? And I found that very much so refreshing. And I appreciated it, because you meet these, and I'll share a quote actually by an individual. What's his name? I think Tim Story, or was it Alex Rodriguez that said it? I think it was Alex. He said, I'll hit it. Oh, here. He said, most of the time, unless you are being completely intentional, self-awareness, when you get rich, this is what he said, when you rise to fame, self-awareness usually decreases and your ego rises. So Alex Rodriguez, if you guys don't know him, if you don't know who Alex is, you need to go look him up. He was the amazing baseball player that did, was it 600 and something home runs? And he was there and he was talking about, um, I said Alex, of course, you guys know it's Alex Rodriguez. Alex Emmanuel Rodriguez, nickname A-Rod, former baseball shortstop, third baseman and designated hitter, and current businessman. So uh, he did was it 900? No, 696, because I think he was four shy of home run. And he talked about his experience and how um, his coach came to him and told him like it was time for him to walk away and retire, which was, he was at the top. And he was like, what? Walk away? Now that I'm making all this money? And he kind of shared his experience about that. And I thought that was so amazing. And so, these people were down to earth, talking, like human beings. They weren't on the mountaintop talking down. They were down there with you. If you understand that analogy that I just gave, they were there in the valley, sitting down eye to eye with you, right? And you can tell those kind of the differences, right? The differences in those kinds of individuals. And those are the kind of people that, you want to rock with. You want to be around those kind of people, right? You don't want to be around ego-filled people that are looking down on you, right? Nobody ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for that. So anyways, I wanted to share, I wrote down some notes from each one of these 6-7 people that I got to be in the same room of, and I wanted to share them with you, right? So hopefully it sparks some inspiration and it encourages you to go get it. To go get it. It encourages you to get it. Get it. Okay. So let me turn this down here and let me talk about this one. Okay, so the first person that we're going to talk about is, of course, Alex Rodriguez. Alex Emmanuel Rodriguez. So Alex, he talked about his, he has a framework that he's like, if you made it, you made it because of these three things. And he called it the VCP. And the VCP is vision, capital, and people. And I love the fact that he highlighted the importance of people and being human and connecting with people, which goes back to the fact of being in the right room, right? Getting in the room, right? Because you don't want to be in any room. You want to be in the right room with the right people, with the right energy, getting the right information that will drive transformation, right? So he spoke about that. Then he spoke about what I said about the self-awareness thing. As you rise to the top, as you start making money, usually he's saying, don't let your ego decrease. Don't let your ego be higher than your self-awareness. And if you know what self-awareness is the ability to be able to use, manage, understand your emotions and how you show up in the world, so that way you can have better relationships, right? Which is emotional intelligence. In case you guys didn't know. And you guys know emotional intelligence is my baby. So he spoke about playing the long game, not the short game. Sometimes you want the quick returns, the quick fix, the quick money, right? The quick house, the quick cars. We want it right now. But it goes back to, if you play the quick game, the short game, I should say, will it last? Will it last? Because then you would not have created the experience you needed to make sure that it lasts and you maintain that quick money. You see what I'm saying? So Alex Rodriguez, the amazing, wonderful baseball professional that was there in the room, he's like, I know we all want the quick fixes. I know we all want quick results. And in an era of we're in a world of, I want it now. I need to get it now. He's saying, play the long game. Play the long game is what he said. And that's what I'm saying to you. As a reminder, I'm saying that to you, a reminder for you. Play the long game. Right? He said he shared a story. He shared a story about going into business with someone, and hopefully I'm getting this right, the concept of it right. And the story that he shared was this guy or whoever it was going into business with him, and you did a contract together. And he said, like, for example, the guy said he wanted to go into a business for $100 million. And instead of taking that, he said, instead of taking the entire $100 million, he said, he said to the guy, I'll just take that. He decided to walk away with only 90% of that $100 million from that contract. And he's like, why? That's the long game. And he said, because he knows that, because he's been in business for such a long time, he said he knows that this guy has to go back to whoever, his boss or whoever, and say, hey, I just went into business with such and such a person, and this is the deal that we made. And he said he knows that guy, they already agreed this is the max that they're going to come in, they're coming in with for this contract. So instead of having that guy go back and say, I got him for the max, he wants him to say, hey, I went in for them. I offered him the max, but he decided to take only the 90% of that max, not the entire 100%. And now he's like, now this guy knows I'm somebody to of quality, somebody to work with. Is going to bring this guy back again to want to do a contract with him. He's going to tell other people about that. So eventually it creates a constant client for him, right? It's a residual income, right? Because he has built the relationship. Now this guy sees and knows that this is something that he did. So the client is a forever client, essentially, right? So I thought that was interesting. Where you've never had anybody, that probably, it would take you time to kind of get to that, even to that concept, right? To even thinking about, man, giving away. So usually we want to hold on to our coins. We want to hold on to all of our money, right? But he's coming from a place of abundance. If you can wrap your head around that. He's coming from a place of abundance to say, the more I give, the more I get. So why not continue to give? And you guys may not believe it. You guys may be, you may be thinking that as it relates to the Bible, that it's lying. What goes around? I mean, it's give from a place of, that's what the Bible speaks of, right? Whether you believe it or not, whether you agree with it or not, it's the more you give, the more you get. Right? And I'm not only talking about the tangible, right? The things and the money and the life, right? I'm talking about intangible, love, peace, breathing, air, great gratitude, lifetime friends that are true. Like, these things, you may not put money on them, but they are priceless. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that will not pay an arm and a leg for a peace of mind. Do you know anybody that won't do that? People want peace. People want to be able to not be stressed all the time, not have to worry all the time. Do you, if you can even wrap your head around it? Because we, we live in this world and we allow the things around us to affect how we show up, so much so that we don't even know what it feels like to just USA and not have to be constantly worrying. And then what comes along with that? If you're not worrying and you're not stressing, you're not worrying about money and what you're going to get and how you're going to do and how you're going to eat, like, you imagine the life, like, what would you do every day? Actually live. You would actually live. So that's what I got from, as it relates to Alex. And then this other gentleman, Tim's story. Do you guys know who Tim's story is? He um he kind of made me cry, you guys. Kind of made me cry. Um, you need to go look him up if you don't know who he is. He is an author. He's a speaker as well. Um, a writer, a life coach. He is well known for his radio and television broadcasts. Inspired, motivated so many people from all walks of life, from executives to athletes to children to all of it. You need to go look him up if you don't know who he is. I'm sure you do. So he's a straightforward, strategic thought leader. But he came from a place of hope. He came from a place of hope, and he was there in the room, and he said some stuff, and I'm going to share some of the things that I took away from his conversation. And he said, you have the sight to a great life. You have the right to a great life. And he's like, what some of us usually fight against is knowing that you have to fight to have a great life. So are you fighting and thinking that it's supposed to be a little easier than it actually is right now? Because if that's what you're fighting against, you shouldn't be fighting against that, because you're supposed to be fighting to have a great life. Okay. He said, your mindset is yours to set up. So set it. Your mindset is yours to set. So set it. And stop making excuses. If you're constantly, one of the examples were, if you're constantly the news that you're watching, and your For You page, your FYP page on social media, and it's only talking about death and politics and negative stuff, you can change it. So change it. Because the more you see of those things affect how you react and how you show up in the world. So I'm not saying be oblivious to them. I'm saying don't let them be your focus. And that's what he's saying. Right? And then he shared going from almost to most to utmost. Going from almost to most to utmost. And the difference between almost and utmost is I almost got that sale. And then the middle one, most. I got the most sale that I can get today. Utmost focuses no longer on the sale. but on the relationship and abundance. I'm telling you, you gotta wrap your head around this stuff. You gotta wrap your head around this stuff. And the other thing he said, go from start believing. And when you start believing in yourself, then you can actually start expecting. And then once you start expecting it, you can start receiving. Go from believing to expecting to receiving, and then eventually impacting. Believe what you thought was impossible. Expect what you thought was unexpected. Actually allow yourself to receive all of it. Allow yourself, meaning open yourself up to this thought that you can actually have it, that it can actually be yours. And then to eventually impacting others' lives in a positive way. I love that. Don't you love that? I love that. So the other two gentlemen that I wanted to talk about was David Meltzer and Ryan Zophai. If you guys don't know who David Meltzer is, co-founder, some, sports magazine or something, and also entrepreneur, podcast called The Playbook, is the top 100 business coach. He talks about the global public speaker, 3-time international best-selling author, like all the things, humanitarian, all of it, especially very closely to sports. And he mentored. It was him and Ryan Zophai. If you don't know who Ryan is, you need to go look up his story. His story is life-changing. It's life-changing. So Ryan talks about his, he's a transformative, also speaker, transformative leader, speaker. He speaks about his sobriety. He was, drugs, alcohol, now turned business owner, successful, overcoming personal hardships, including addiction, incarceration, like started at the bottom. And David Meltzer mentored Ryan. And both of them were there on the stage and they were talking as it relates to their experience and how important it is to have a mentor that doesn't give up on you. Do you have a mentor? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody in your corner? Do you have somebody that believes in you? Do you have somebody? I know I'm loud for Friday morning, but I want to make sure you guys are awake. And their story was so beautiful. But what I like so much about Ryan's story is that he shared about how he grew up and how hard his father was on him and how the relationship that they had was not good. And him and his father constantly butted head. And one day he had an argument with him and he walked out and for a period of time, he just stopped talking to him or didn't, interact with him. And his dad called him. There was time in between that argument and his dad reaching out to him and asking, hey, let's go for lunch. And Ryan explains that was his dad's way of kind of apologizing or mending the relationship from the argument and that happened. And he said he never responded to him or never got that chance to actually do that lunch with him, because the next day or the following days, he said he saw a number calling him and he didn't know what the number was. And he's like, that's how mad or how out of alignment with reality he was as it relates to being self-aware and taking responsibility for your own actions. He was so far away from that the person that was calling him was the number that he didn't know, but was calling him was his dad's wife that he didn't even have saved in his phone. And he picked up and she told him that, hey, you need to get to the hospital because your dad just had was it a heart attack or stroke? One of them. And essentially, he didn't get a chance to say goodbye. What do you think about that? So just think about all that comes with. And so he had to reconcile within himself. That was, of course, a total wake-up call for him. And he had to, so he just grew from there, right? So he tapped in, forgave himself, forgave his father, and I'm sure within himself, I'm sure, wherever the father is, he, totally loved them, and it didn't matter because the dad was already over it, which is why he was reaching out to say, let's just go for lunch, right? Let's go chill. But now that's within you to have to accept that and then try to move on, right? So he loves speaking about forgiveness because he had to forgive himself and forgive his father and among other people, right? As it relates to all his relationships. So he spoke heavily about that. And I think that we all can use a little bit of forgiveness. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree? I believe so. We all can use a little bit of forgiveness. He said, I am living my assignment. Are you? He said, execution trumps knowledge every single day of the week. You can't say that you're going to do something. You have to actually be about it and pack it with action. That's what I say all the time on here. He said, forgiveness is hindering you. Stop allowing it. He said, serving others is the key to success. And success is something we attract. So go be attracting. Serve others. We talked about that earlier as well, right? With Alex Rodriguez. He said the same thing. So you see how no matter what they're saying, all of these amazing millionaires, billionaires, inspirational, transformational speakers, they're saying the same thing in a different way, but it's essentially the message is the same, right? The theme is the same. Be kind, forgive, let go, do the therapy if you need to do therapy, but you need to get over it, right? Take responsibility. If you need to go to therapy, if you need to talk it out with someone, whatever it is, deal with it. But don't stop letting whatever the issue is or whatever the experience was, or whatever your parents did and didn't do, whatever your sister did and didn't do, at some point you got to take responsibility for what your choices was in that relationship. And Gary Vee talks about that a lot. And if my computer allows me here, I may show a clip from it. It was like a couple of seconds clip where he says some things during the Aspire tour that I got a chance to record that I thought was pow in your face. So that's what Ryan Zophai speaks about. And David Meltzer said, your exposure is your expansion. So if you want to grow in your business, at work, at school, at church, in your relationship, are you exposing yourself to these relationships, to the audience, to people? You need to expose yourself. And part of the way of doing that, especially if you're in business for yourself or you want to network and grow, you got to get in the room. You got to try to do, I know it's kind of, sometimes it can be daunting and sometimes it can be fearful. You can have the fear and you're scared to step out on that limb. But he said, but you got to take the first step, right? And do it in spite of the fear that you have, right? Because fear, he's like, it's a part of the process. It's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have fear. If you didn't have fear, I would be worried. He said, but if we remember that fear is part of that success track, then you won't constantly let it be surprised every time it comes up. Fear is part of that step. It's like going up an escalator, and as you go up, the higher you go up, the steeper the escalator looks. But finally, when you reach the top and you turn back around and you look down, you're like, man, I didn't realize I walked all of those stairs. And you may have been scared, to go up them, but eventually you did. And it's just like, another analogy is like none of us knew how to walk when we were born, right? None of us knew how to walk. So with trial and error, what would we do? You fell down, you got up, you did it again. You fell down, you got up, you did it again. Your parents helped you, they held your hand, and you fell down, you got up, you did it again. You did it until you became perfect enough to walk on your own. That's anything in life that is worth doing. You need to constantly invest the time into perfecting it or getting to the point where, you know what, I got this now. I can do this on my own, right? So he talked about that. And Ryan also said, dreams do come true. So get up and do them. Go get up and go get them. He said, remember, if you want blessings, you have to be a blessing. Yes. So we're going back to those that want to just hoard and keep everything for themselves. You see, I grew up in a family that gives annoying to, I would say sometimes annoyingly gives. And my husband would probably say, really annoying. We give. My mom is very giving. And not necessarily, I'm not saying money. I'm like time, cooking, giving away the food, baking, giving away something that they no longer need. Instead of just throwing it away, they're giving it to someone that can actually use it. Right? You're giving up your time. Man, if you can give your time. I'm on 2 boards right now, and even though they're not paying me, the time is money, right? At the end of the day, time is money. But I love what I do so much on those boards that it's just like breathing for me. Like, I love it. I enjoy the work that I do, working with other HR professionals and working with people that want to give back into, healthcare and those kinds of things. And it started with my family, because a lot of members of my family, they are in healthcare, right? They're either nursing assistant, or they're a nurse, or their caregiver in one way, shape, or form, right? So that was, embedded into me with from all of my siblings, and my brothers and my sisters. They're all the same, very giving people, you know. Back home in Honduras, where my family is known for that. And I used to think, I was like, man, are we famous? Because as I was growing up, everybody's like, yeah, the whole family, yeah, yeah, they all, even the unfortunate on the streets and stuff, they knew that if they came towards near our family, they knew that they were going to be taken care of. We were going to make sure they're, have food, and they have some kind of clothing, like that kind of stuff. And I kind of love that. So I kind of have that embedded in my bone. And sometimes husband thinks that's very annoying, but it's who you are. That makes who you are. And that's a part of your values, right? So that's important to you, to be a giving. And I'm not talking about giving from a place of where you can't give. I'm saying giving from a place where it's healthy giving. Okay. And that's what Ryan's A Fight was talking about. And then the other person I want to mention here is Cody Sanchez. Cody, if you don't know who she is, if you don't know who Cody is, you need to know. I've heard Cody's name, but I did not have like through and through information or understanding of who she was and what all that she did. She's a founder and CEO of Contrarian. And what she did, she left her, was it Wall Street? Yeah, I think she left her Wall Street job to come and just come back and work with the little guy, I would say, right? Contrarian Thinking, which is a financial advice enterprise with over, listen to this, 2.5 million subscribers. She's the co-founder of Unconventional Acquisitions, focused on small business acquisitions for the everyday man. So she goes and she buys up all of these small mom and pop businesses and makes them make money. And then she goes back and show others how to do the same. Because her thought process is wealth is ownership. And ownership is freedom. You own something, you're right up there. Own something. Own a house. Own real estate. So if you never thought about it being a viable option before, yeah, or even thinking that you could, and there's ways to do it. So she mentioned that which I thought was really interesting. She said 79% of millionaires are self-made. And of those 79%, which essentially is, way more than half, right? And she said 60% of those 79% own businesses. Going back to owning. Well, owning is wealth, right? And then she said 88% own 88%. So way more than the 79%. 88% own more than $30 million in net worth. So we need to figure out some way to buy some stuff. So I was saying, essentially is what we're saying here. Essentially. Okay? We got to figure out a way to own some stuff. And to be in the room, they were giving some offers there on how to, and it was completely, what I'm talking about, it's free. And of course, if you wanted to invest, then you would have to put in that time, and then you would have to invest your resources. So if you're not paying for anything, then you have to go back and ask yourself, if you're not paying for it, is it worth the investment? Because not everything that's free is good, right? Right. So I talked about Andrew, who's nicknamed Drew, and Eddie, who's the owners of Aspire, and who kind of started this whole thing. And Eddie was talking about, not Eddie, Drew was talking about how money is a game. And the question that he was asking is, what is your emotion around money? I said emotion. I was like, I was particularly intrigued, right? Because, I'm all about emotional intelligence. And he's like, what is your emotion around money? And so if you stop and you think about it, what is your emotion around money? What is your emotion around money? He's like, there was a research done, and the main emotion around money was fear for Americans. Fun fact, did you know that over 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? %76. That's probably even higher now. Think about that. 76% paycheck to paycheck. So more than half of the world is living paycheck to paycheck. Think about that. So he's saying, if the main fear when you think about money, the main emotion when you think about money is fear of not having it, fear of it not being enough, right? That's the thought that would come up for you, right? When you think about it, 90% of all millionaires become so through owning their own real estate. Andrew Carnegie said that 90% become millionaires due to ownership, going back to what Cody Sanchez is all about. Just think about that. So whatever you're doing, whatever what your focus is for this 2025, where in 2 weeks we're going to end Q1, maybe we need to start thinking a little bit bigger. Think a little bit bigger than what we're thinking right now, right? Because with this AI social media world that we are right now for the next couple of years, you have opportunities, and we have so much more opportunities than our parents did, our grandparents did. So much more. We're at the table now, so we got to do something. When you're at the table, you can't just sit there quietly. You got to say something. You got to do something. You got to make an impact. You got to make the elevator. The elevator that you're sending back down, meaning going back and helping someone, or going back and help the generation that's coming behind you. You got to make sure it's easier to go down. You got to make sure the elevator doesn't get stuck halfway. You got to make sure when you're going back and helping your nieces, your nephews, your great grandchildren, that when you're get ready to send that elevator back down, that is actually an elevator that everybody can get on. Because in actuality, you know, you can be sending, you can think that you're laying down the groundwork, but if you're not doing it right, and if you're not investing, or you don't have the right information, and you're not in the right place at the right time with the right information, then you're not going to finish what you started, right? You're not going to finish what you started. So then they're going to almost get an education. They're going to almost have all the information. Yes, they know where to go, but they don't know what room to go in. So that's that's the mindset. That's the thought process there, right? So I was looking here for this video from this is two of the different videos, right? Or is it the same one? I told you I was going to try and play you guys this video from Gary Vee, who also spoke, right? And before I play that video, I think it's going to play. I wanted to share some of the things that he says. Well, you know what? I'm going to let Gary speak for himself, because this was his conversation, his thought process was the one that kind of, it was the last one. You know, they saved the last for the last speaker. This last speaker for the last, let's say the best for last. But they all were best. They all were great, right? So I can't really pinpoint and say this one is better than this one. I love them all. So let me see if I can get this showing here for you guys. And I'm gonna let Gary Vee share for himself what yeah, I think I can do it. Yep, let me turn this up so you guys can have it and see. Yay. Okay, so let me make it play. It's about 2 minutes, you guys, so enjoy.
This era that we're in is going to go away. And everybody here who's been listening, you know, when you just said, where were you? I was fucking here.
You were there.
I don't know what the fuck you were doing, but I think a lot of people know I've been on this shit for 20 years. And I've been very concerned.
Oh, sorry, you guys. That I had to switch the camera around. And you're gonna have to watch this upside down, and I didn't like fix it or anything, so sorry, but here we go.
I wrote Crush It in 2008.
Yep.
Right? It came out in 2009. We're talking about 17 years ago.
Wow.
I've been, you know, if that made some of you feel old, trust me, I get it. So I've been here. This era will go away. The phone that a lot of you are holding right now is going to look ancient in a decade. We are literally within the decade of glasses or something else circumventing the phone. Once the phone does not become the primary device, the social networks and the feeds don't work the same. When the printing press was the most important, the people that wrote books and newspapers won. When the radio became the most important, the people that spoke in it and were listened to became the device. Then the television came along and completely changed our society. This social network moment is incredibly important for us. Unlike every other medium, there were gatekeepers and very heavy expenses to have big moments. Now all of us with our phone in there for free can change the course of our life, our business, our passions. You know, I could literally end this talk right now on this rant. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the only agenda I have to get across to everybody here, regardless if you're the biggest fan of me and have consumed me for 15 years, or you have no idea who I am right now as you sit here, is for all of you to understand how significant the opportunity is in front of us to take advantage of the last 5 or 6 years of this window that has created a level of democracy and meritocracy around opportunity that has never in the history of the world been accessible to a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. So let that sink in for a little bit. So if you have a business and you're thinking about what to do, well, a lot. It's a lot. So I think I have one more video here that I want to share with you guys as it relates to him. And um, I know I think, sorry for the curse word. I think he said a curse word or two, but let me share this one with you guys. This is the last one. I think this one is not, hold on. Let me start sharing, bring this one back. And this one is not upside down, you guys. So you can actually see this one. So this one, but the point is what he's saying, right? So here we go.
Right now, because there's some new technology and we can rebirth them by putting a little pill in it or fucking and sprayed the fucking thing and they popped up. And let's say that existed. If we all went to our great-great-grandparents' grave right now, sprayed it, they popped up, they're alive, they would fucking want to go back into the ground. Because the shit that we're living blows their mind. Like people are, listen, I was an atrocious student, but I was good at history. And I never understood why I liked it until I got older, where I realized how much I rely on it to make my decisions. The reason I end up being right when I do predict-ish is because I ground myself in history. Let me give you an example. I know a lot of you don't know this, but it would help you understand why I see the world the way I do. When electricity was invented, do you know that most people were scared to put it into their home and continue to use candles because the word on the street was there were demons in the electricity?
Yeah.
And do I have to remind some of the 40 and over crowd here who said they would never give up their BlackBerry because it had buttons on it? That one hurt. And again, over 40-year-old crowd, let these 20-year-olds know the stigma of online dating in 2003, 4, 5, 6. People met on Match.com and lied how they met because it was so embarrassing.
Come on now.
It's the only way people do it.
Gary, come on.
My friends, shit changes whether you like it or not. And when I think about coming to things like this, I always think about, like, how do I bring value? Like, why do people want to continue to listen to me? People paid, people stayed to the end. How do I bring value? If I can bring you any value, it's that if you say the word no in business, you're already in trouble. The only word, if you're a no person, that you're allowed to change that to is maybe. Because so many of you are going to lose or limit your upside because you're addicted to the word no. And that is the most dangerous word in business. With technology, you must, with consumer trends, with the way the world moves, you must be committed to maybe. Not yes, that's where you get in trouble the other way too. You get too ahead of yourselves, and no has value in other places, protecting your time, keeping you away from things. But when it comes to what's happening in the world, you can't use no. And so many of you love to use excuses to not do new shit. You know what was the big one last year, 2 years ago? Everyone's like, oh, Gary, TikTok, I can't do it. Fucking China. You know, people love to do some USA fucking pride to disguise you're fucking lazy. Right now.
He said that we were lazy. What do you guys think about that? Whatever your thoughts on it, whatever you agree or disagree, or you care or don't care, you know what it comes down to? You got millions and millions of dollars. Millions and millions and business on top of business on top of business on top of business. So if you're trying to get there, or he's healthy in relationships and he's healthy financially, which is what I think, for me, that's what success looks like. Like your relationships are thriving. You're a, you're trying to be, or you are being the best version of you every single day. And it doesn't show up in perfection, in a manner of perfection. It shows up in a manner of consistency. Consistency. Be consistent with how you're showing up, that best version of you, right? And every single one of them spoke about emotional intelligence. They spoke about human potential. They spoke about emotional maturity, right? And how important it is to have a relationship with yourself first, a healthy one, right? And then getting to the point of actually paying it forward and sending that elevator back down. So I dropped just a little bit, but I mean, there's only so much you guys can experience from what I experienced, but being in the room made a difference, made a whole difference on how I see the world. I was already going in that direction. This just fast tracked me a little bit. So when Aspire Tour is talking about immersing yourself into the experience, supercharging your career, your finances, and your personal growth with the people that I have met, and sharing with them and seeing where they're at, and thanking God that you're not doing this alone, fully immersing yourself in experiences, in conversations like this, fast tracks your thinking. At least it did that for me. So, helping, the footing, my footing is all the way in there. All the way in there. And, they gave, some free offers. They gave some offers that you needed to invest. So they kind of gave like a bunch, right? And then, whatever applies to you, whatever fits for you as it relates to you, your personal growth, your professional growth, then you got that opportunity to kind of take advantage of them. But now you know a little bit of what I got. But nothing trumps being in the room and taking action. So if you got anything here that made you want to think and made you want to maybe even check out Aspire, right? Maybe actually give them a try and see when they're, I think, when they're going to be here again. I think the owners, they live in Tampa, Tallahassee, one of them. But anyways, they're Florida owned, they're Florida business. So you don't have any excuses. Don't make any excuses, like Gary Vee just said. So now you know a little bit about that, and I hope that this was inspiration, transformational conversation for you, and that you may use it to take you to your next. I'll see you guys next week.